Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here. Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well with another episode of the Snowflake Corner, episode 35, where we cover news from outside the UK. The date and time is the 16th of July, 2024 at 7 p.m. UK time. We are dual streaming live on YouTube and twitch.tv, youtube.com/ReganElite and Twitch TV /ReganElite1. For some reason, I have not put that up for some reason, so I will make sure. Just wanted to make sure I've got the Twitch chat up in case anybody pops up over there. Hello to those who are here live. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're having a good week so far. And the gang behind me is here. The orb, the lava lamp, and the gang is of course here in all of its glory as well. So hope you guys are doing well. Jao is here. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Moderating as always. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping by. Andrew Luke is also here as well. Good to see you there. And any lurkers obviously there. Hello everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well. So let's dive straight into the first topic, guys. So obviously one of the biggest stories that's obviously been that's started well really is obviously Donald Trump's running mate, and that is J.D. Vance. So who is J.D. Vance, guys? Well, let me just read the headline and I'll give you guys a bit of context. So J.D. Vance as well. Where does Trump's VP pick stand on Israel, Ukraine, and China? So Vance backs full support for Israel and Gaza, but wants caution with Iran, focus on China, and less support for Ukraine. Now, I could talk to you guys about some of the horrifying things that this man has said, but I'm going to let tomorrow's community post speak for itself instead. There's a community post going to come to drop down tomorrow with regards to this man and whether or not he should be allowed even into the UK. For example, he thinks that abortions should be banned outright. He also thinks that Britain is an Islamic state. He also thinks that it's literally just. He also thinks that that rape is an inconvenience to women as well. So there's just a couple of examples of the kind of man this person. I wouldn't even call him a person. I would call him much more beneath that. Who could become vice president of the United States. And God forbid, if Donald Trump was to be assassinated as president, this man would take over as president of the United States. We think Trump is mad. No, this guy is a lot worse. This guy is a lot worse. For those who haven't read, I'm also going to recommend checking out Brian Tyler Cohen's video on him as well. He has a lot of tweets and a lot of comments and a lot of videos he shared regarding him as well. I know there's probably other people who've given some details about him, but this man is a very vile person. Who was Adolf Hitler's right hand man? Reminds me of that guy. That's kind of what he reminds me of. Don't worry, I'm not going to get monetized for this live stream, guys. But he reminds me of that guy. You know, he was his right hand man, the guy who was really ruthless and cold. That's what J.D. Vance reminds me of. Someone can write his name in the comments down below. Much appreciated. Simon says 55. It's good to see you here. Hope you're doing well. Mad Monk as well. Good to see you, Mad Monk. Hope you're doing well. And Joe Lefty there. Good to see you, Joe. Hope you're doing well. Where did these creatures spawn from? They spawned from. They actually spawned from Isengard in the pits in Saruman's pits. That's where they're coming from. They're coming from the depths of Isengard. That's a Lord of the Rings reference. You don't know that. Anyway, so what is this man's position now on Israel and Ukraine and China? Well, let's have a read anyway. So the former US President Donald Trump wasn't the only leader who received a rockstar welcome at the Republican National Convention, the RNC, on Monday. Also soaking in the jubilation was J.D. Vance, the 39-year-old Ohio senator picked by Trump 2 days after an assassination bid on the ex-president and his vice presidential nominee for the November election. Yep, he's pretty much in. There was never going to be anyone replacing him, to be fair. Bertie, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Vance once wondered whether Trump was a senile or America's Hitler. Now he's poised to serve as Trump's wingman, potentially the next vice president of the United States. What a U-turn. What a U-turn. Like I said, do check. There'll be a community post tomorrow for everyone to see, where I give some more detailed comments on what he says, as well as I'll link Brian Tyler Cohen's video as well, which I do recommend checking out as well. But yeah, I this guy is a proper snake as well. He will say anything for power, this guy. And I don't know JD Vance. It's like today and yesterday. It's kind of like once he was announced as his money mate, I was like, who? And then obviously people started telling me who he was, and then looking up on him, and I'm like, oh my god! Like, I thought Marjorie Taylor Greene was terrible. I thought Trump was bad. No, I think this guy's a lot worse than both of them guys. I really, really do. Chatty Rat, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. So, a venture capitalist and a veteran, Vance vaulted into national prominence with his book-turned-movie Hillbilly Eddie. He is part of a stream of Republicans arguing for a hands-off approach to foreign policy. That policy prioritizes U.S. interests, is dubious about military intervention, and questions the U.S. long-standing approach to global alliances. So essentially, he wants to capitulate America. The idea is obviously there's this premise that America needs to stop being a part of the world and needs to just focus on America, stop caring about other people, and only care about itself. This would not just, this kind of mindset. So not even just, never mind just. This is also would mean South Korea would be vulnerable to North Korea. This would mean that the Philippines, not Philippines, but yes, Philippines as well. This would mean that Taiwan would be vulnerable to China. And this, of course, obviously would open up the door for other nations in the Middle East to all kick off if America was to pull out of those as a lot of nations to kick off even more there. And even in some places in Africa as well. There would be global destabilization if America was to pull out of a lot of things that it's already in. There would be global destabilization if they were to do that. That's how crazy this man is. Vance's America's first approach has its limits too. Here's a look at the outspoken senator's foreign policy perspectives on everything from the war in Gaza and the conflict in Ukraine to the rising tension with China. Vance's foreign policy can be submerged as American first with an Israel exception. When Hamas carried out its attack on October the 7th last year, Vance pinned blame on the Biden administration for enabling the Palestinian group. I don't think you can blame Biden directly on this. Yeah, there are some things you could blame some parts, but I don't think you can blame Vance directly on this. I don't think that feels right. Billy Blase, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I'm sure you're looking forward to the opening of Parliament, and then they're finally getting into the House. We'll be starting up those committee meetings and hearings. Going to be a lot of content for you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel, youtube.com/dailyblase, for lots of wonderful content, guys. There'll be plenty coming down the road for him, I'm sure. There is obviously some part you can blame for the Biden administration because America could have done more to secure peace in the Middle East, and they haven't. And things have gotten worse now. Vance is Putin's choice, says Verti. Based on what? What evidence do you have to base on that? Americans must face a stark truth. Our tax dollars funded this, he said, hours after the attack, according to media reports. Vance's staunch support for U.S.-Israel relationship rests on the view that the country is essential to protecting U.S. interests in the Middle East, according to Steph Eisbein, the CEO of Paris Foundation, a U.S.-based organization. Vance's support continued military aids to Israel, emphasizing that a secure Israel contributes to regional stability and aligns with American strategic interests. He advocates for close diplomatic and defensive cooperation, recognizing Israel's role as a democracy in a volatile region, Eisenberg had told Al Jazeera. Indeed, Vance has rejected any limits on aid to Israel. Vance has also credited his Christian beliefs for his all-encompassing support for Israel. A majority of civilians in this country think that their savior. I count myself as a Christian. I was born, died, and resurrected in that narrow leap strip of territory off the Mediterranean, he said in a speech delivered at the Quincy Institute in May. Okay, mate. Okay. The idea there was ever going to be an America foreign policy that doesn't care a lot about the slice of the world is preposterous. Well, you kind of bit contradicted yourself, and you want to say you want to enclose things as well. Just saying. On the home front, Vance penned a letter to US President Joe Biden late last November, urging him not to implement a special immigration protection for Palestinians, calling them a population of potentially radicalized individual. Okay. I wonder what radicalized them, guys. What do you think radicalized Palestinians? I wonder if he was put in the Gaza Strip, if he would be saying that kind of thing. Joe Lefty, thank you so much for being a member for 6 months. Amazing 6-month membership. Thank you so much for your support, Joe. I really appreciate it. We're all doomed, aren't we? No, we're not doomed. If he pushes the red button and if he becomes the red president and pushes the red button, then yeah, we're all doomed. But if he doesn't push the red button, we might not be doomed. The benefit is obviously we're on an island, so that's the one thing. We do have that benefit. So I don't think we're completely doomed, if I'm honest. Let's have some optimism. And anyway, yes, I do believe he's going to be the next President Trump. But there's time between. There's still a good couple of months between now and November, so things can change. So let's have a bit of hope, shall we? He also introduced bills to withhold federal funds for colleges where there has been encampments or protests against Israel's war on Gaza. And though the Ohio politician doesn't want any limits placed on support for Israel's war on Hamas, he has previously said that he opposes any direct US strikes on Iran unless the Iranians directly attack US troops. Vance has repeatedly questioned US involvement in various conflicts in the Middle East, said Eidensberg. Vance believed that many of these interventions have not only failed to achieve their objectives, but also drained American resources and lives, he said. Eisenberg said Vance believes the US should be cautious about engaging in foreign conflict unless there is a clear direct threat to national security. This perspective aligns with a broader trend with certain segments of the Republican Party, which has grown increasingly wary of the interventionist policies that characterized the early 2000s, he said. Still, while Vance is critical of interventionism, he does not advocate for isolationism, Eisenberg said. Trump's VP pick believes in maintaining alliances with key partners in Europe and Asia to address common security challenges, but has pushed for those allies to contribute fairly to collective defensive efforts, Eisenberg added. Basically, he's saying to them, you guys need to do more defending, we're going to do less, is what he's basically implying, which they don't have the same resources as America, but they expect them to have to use the same resources as America. That's kind of what he's implying there. So, just a bit of a background there. 39-year-old first-time senator from Ohio was a former Trump critic, but became a staunch MAGA supporter, particularly on trade, foreign policy, and immigration. A Marine Corps veteran and author of Hillbilly Elegy in 2016, graduated from Ohio State University and Yale Law School. Married to the lawyer Usha Chakunishka, the daughter of Indian migrants. Interesting. I did see that original picture there, that he had the picture of his wife, and I was like, oh my god. Worked in Silicon Valley investment firm, a strong supporter of Israel with an American first with an Israeli exception worldview. So where does Vance stand on Russia's war in Ukraine? Vance is against the US providing funds to Ukraine amid the war with Russia. A recent speech at the National Conservatism Conference, Vance said US involvement in Ukraine had no obvious conclusion or even objective that we're close to getting accomplished. The VP pick has also pushed Europe to take on a larger share of military defense so that the US can concentrate on tackling what it sees as a threat posed by China. Okay, well, if that is the case, then he's obviously not gonna. Maybe he's not gonna pull back on things. Number 3, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. We want Europe to be successful, but Europe has got to take a bigger role in its own security, he said at the Munich Security Conference in February. Vance's nomination has always stirred a commotion in Europe. The nomination of J.D. Vance as VP shows us in Europe that we must continue to make an effort to take greater care of European security and sovereignty ourselves, the German legislator Merden Hageving said in a post on X. Tough nut to crack. At the Munich conference, Vance also launched Trump as the best president at deterring Russia in a generation. Yeah, I'm not buying that. He deflected accusations, but both he and Trump were soft on Russian President Vladimir Putin, stating that Putin's preferred candidate is Biden because he's more predictable. The Ohio senator also said in Munich that there was a practical reason why the US needed to scale down its support for Ukraine. The US, he said, does not make enough munitions to support a war in Eastern Europe, a war in the Middle East, and potentially a contingency in East Asia. The PAC-3, which is a Patriot interceptor Ukraine uses in a month in what the United States makes in a year, Vance cited as an example. He added that the conflict needs to end, though, negotiate peace between all parties involved. That is in line with Trump's own vision. The former US president has promised to negotiate an end to the war if he returns to power. Yeah, your negotiation is Russia should be entitled to the land that they've taken from Ukraine. That's your position, which is absolute bullshit. I'm sorry. That's what you guys want. It's not right. And even if you got that, even if, yeah, you got those pieces, like, Putin is not going to settle for that land. He's not going to settle for that. He will go back and engage with Ukraine again later on down the line. We expect that. We fully expect that. Even if they got peace, it's not going to change things. It's not going to change things with Russia and Ukraine. Because they will want the rest of Ukraine. They will want the rest of it. So where does Vance stand on his relations with China? According to Eisenberg, Vance views China as a primary strategic competitor. And has called for more assertive US stance to counter Beijing's rise in influence. Vance supports measures to reduce American dependency on Chinese manufacturing and to protect critical supply chains, Eisenberg said. He also advocates for strong actions against Chinese intellectual property theft and unfair trade practices. In fact, Vance told the Munich conference earlier this year that US foreign policy should focus on East Asia for the next 40 years. In March, Vance sponsored legislation to block access for the Chinese government from the US capital markets if it fails to abide by international trade law. Yeah, basically they just want to block out China. They want to completely block out China, which... Like, I understand China has a great deal of influence. I'm fully aware of that, but this is not the right way to do things. Like, you should be working with China, we should be trying to work with China, not really blocking them out. Besides Ukraine, where does Vance stand on other European relation issues? In line with his views about focus primarily on China, Vance has stated that the US should pivot away from Europe. Additionally, Vance has criticised Britain's Labour Party after it came back to power under the newly minted Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Yeah. Following the election, he said that the UK might be the first Islamic country with nukes, referring to new nuclear weapons. So the guy's clearly never set foot in the UK before. Absolute dumbass. What is truly Islamic country that will get a nuclear weapon? Maybe it's Iran, maybe Pakistan, already kind of counts. And then we finally decided maybe it's actually the UK since Labour just took over, Vance said. Absolute dumbass. Has no idea. Doesn't know anything about the UK. Has he even ever been to the United Kingdom? No, probably hasn't, to make such ridiculous comments. But yeah, this is the kind of guy who's probably not somebody we would want anywhere near Britain. Yeah, problematic is a good word to describe him, guys. He's going to be problematic. Verti says Paula Manford is again leading the campaign like the last time he worked before with that. Djokovic became the president of the Ukraine. Later, he had to escape to Moscow. Andrew Luke says Wikipedia says a key reason for hillbilly energy widespread popularity following his publication in 2016 was its role in explaining Donald Trump's rise to the top of the Republican Party. Interesting. Hadn't heard of his book. Now a 2020 film by Ron Howard. It's an autobiography. Yeah, I don't plan on reading his book if I'm honest. Number 3. If I didn't say hello to you, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Everyone just saying hello to everyone. And they have the old faces that are not in the prison. Donald Trump's... Yeah, that's what it said. Yeah, I read that already. Why have the Americans elected these people? What are they drinking? The beer is too weak to get them drunk, so that's not it, says Jow. There's more to it than that, I'm afraid. Bet he knows Farage. Yeah, he probably does know Farage. He probably does, to be fair. This will not be the last time we'll hear of him, obviously. We'll be talking more about it down the road, guys. But yeah, those are some of the things that are going... That's problematic there, that is for sure. So the next one I got for you guys is also from Al Jazeera. Things are not looking good in Kenya, guys. We've talked about this. I've done it on short videos. We talked about it before, and it is still continuing. So new anti-government protests kicked off in Kenya with calls for Ruto to quit. Police fired tear gas to disperse demonstrators in Nairobi and other cities as the casualties reported. So there has been mounting pressure on him. Now, at the time of this recording, at the time of this live stream, so it's entirely possible he may have stepped down as we're live streaming. I don't think he has. But this has been going on for a long time. Not a long time, but for a good while now. They just do not trust this. They do not trust the president to not bring back that tax bill that we spoke about before. They wanted to, him and his party want to introduce lots of tax rises. that they believe is necessary for the country. The people do not agree with them. They've said that that false that they were promised there would not be these tax rises, and basically the government and the president basically lied to them. Hence why the protesters have taken place. We've also, unfortunately, there have been some lives have been lost in some of these protests as well, which is also really bad. So Kenya's really really not looking good right now. And at the moment, I just think it's inevitable that Ruto is going to end up quitting. He's going to end up because the pressure is mounting on him. So hundreds of anti-government protesters have taken to the streets of Kenya demanding the embattled President William Ruto resigns. Tuesday's demonstrations are spanning from the capital, Nairobi, to the southern coastal towns of Mosba, are the latest bout of unrest since government-planned tax hikes prompted mass anger in mid-June. Reported from Nairobi, Al Jazeera's Malcolm Webb said the police were firing tear gas abundantly in the city centre, trying to stop any crowds from forming. In the nearby town of Kinagalia, some 200 protesters burnt tyres and chanted "Ruto must go," and at least one person was killed, according to a witness quoted by the Reuters news agency. In Mosba, in the south, more protesters marched waving palm fronds, footage from the Kenya media had shown. Kenya activists are moved by Ruto's concessions to axe the $2.7 billion in planned tax hikes to ease the initial protests are threatening a total shutdown of the country on Tuesday, which is today. They are frustrated by years of stagnating wages and corruption seen as worse than ever, said Webb, noting that the tax plan was merely the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah, so they're blaming. I'm sure they're not just blaming this government, but they just see as, these guys are making a lot of money and they want to bring these tax hikes in. They don't care about us. We should just shut the whole country down. That's how they feel, guys. Yeah. They've had enough, really. They've really had enough, the people. The demonstrators have started peacefully last month, which soon spiraled into violence, with some protesters even briefly storming Parliament and police opening fire. And more than 50 people were killed during the protests, according to Kenya's National Commission on Human Rights, with police accused of using excessive force. Right here, this is the reason why he has to go. Just on that alone, he has to go. Because you can't have him after that. Another 55 people have been abducted or are missing, and 628 others were abruptly arrested, the commission said. Wasn't this the same guy that had struck a really nice deal with Ursula von der Leyen with the EU president a while ago? I remember they had a picture together and they were all smiles and everything, like, yay, great deal, and Kenya was looking like a very good country and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't feel that right now, does it? How things have changed quite quickly in the country. To help calm the earlier unrest, Ruto scrapped the plan to tax insurance on June the 26th and dismissed almost the entire cabinet. He also announced multi-sectoral talks to address protesters' grievances. Yeah, he tried to... I think I covered this in a short story. He's dismissing his entire cabinet to say, look, I've changed, guys. I've got rid of my entire cabinet. And the protesters are like, no, we want your head. We don't want the cabinet. We want your head. He can't get out of this, guys. He can't get out of this. However, most leading activists have rejected Ruto's intervention to dialogue, instead using intimidating actions on issues like corruption. Soli Agua, a Nairobi-based security analyst, told Al Jazeera the protests would intensify and become more frequent as long as Ruto refuses to listen to his demonstrators' grievances. Since the beginning of the protests, these have been blamed on the opposition, on the former president, on Russian President Vladimir Putin, of the president of my mic just went there, of the president of South Korea, and yesterday on the Ford Foundation, like I said. So hold on, whoa. What's the president of South Korea got to do with this? So blame Putin, blame the president of South Korea, okay, there's a lot of blame game here going on. It seems to Kenyans that he doesn't understand that these protests are being driven by Kenyans who are telling them that they are fed up. Ruto on Monday accused the Ford Foundation and American Philadelphics organization of sponsoring those who had caused violence and mayhem in Kenya without providing evidence. The Ford Foundation rejects the allegations, saying it did not fund or sponsor the protests and has a strictly non-partisan policy for its grant making. The message that Ruto is sending Kenyans is that he doesn't hear them and he doesn't see them, and this is not going to go down well. Algorithms said there. What's the latest on this? Let's have a quick nose. Just to see if there's anything more here. No, looks like there's nothing more from the last feed here. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, nothing that I've already covered. So there's nothing been too much has changed since then, unfortunately. But yeah, very. Oh, what the hell? My Twitch chat just turned off for some reason. That's weird. Sorry, 1 second, guys. Let me check. I'm definitely live, aren't I? Yes, I am still live. I'm just checking. Don't know why there we go. Twitch chat's back up. Okay. Yeah. He's got to go. He has to go. He's got to go. There's no two ways around this. He's, you know, he can scream, kick and scream all he likes, but the reality is that the people are not going to stop protesting this. This kind of protesting, it really does work. If only we protest like this in the UK, we could get so many things done. We really could. But you know, for the people of Kenya, I hope that he does step down soon, and I hope that they have maybe they'll call an election or something like that. Maybe it might be worth doing that, because clearly people are feeling egregious and they feel betrayed. They feel a lot of anger, and they feel like maybe the country needs a bit of a reset. That's clearly what it looks like here, guys. But obviously, I'll try and keep you guys up to date with short videos as well. I may update more on Kenya on Friday on the World's News Round for you guys as well. Trump gets resort Guantanamo. You know, he's not going to be in Guantanamo, Verti. That's wishful thinking. It would be nice, but that's a bit wishful thinking. The next story I've got for you guys is why am I covering this guy? I don't know. But just before I do, guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate. Excuse me. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. Doing any and all these things, leaving comments as well, really does really boost the algorithm as well. Whenever you leave comments on any of my videos, watch my videos a bit longer. All those ways are non-financial ways you can support me. So thank you to anyone who's done any of them. I really appreciate it. So this next one, guys, is Andrew Tate. He's been banned from leaving Romania after a court overturns his ruling. Yeah, this guy, so he's still problematic. He's still got his Rumble live stream. He's still saying things that that we just don't like hearing. He's not changing his position. This is obviously a man that's clearly not going away. Yeah, I wish this man would be quiet. You know. There was a time once where I actually would listen to him and not actually take him in, but I would actually just listen to some of his stuff. Now it's just like just gone. Is he free? No, he's not free. He's just stuck in Romania. He just can't leave the country. So he can still do his live streams. He can still do his talking points. He does that on Rumble. He does that pretty much nearly every night on Rumble, and he still gets lots of followers are still following him. I mean, he's not going anywhere. Like I don't, and the thing is that like I have even though this guy has said terrible wrong things, I also have to put this out there as well. I've not seen any video evidence that confirms the things that people have said that he's done as well. So I also have to be very careful. And obviously, I'm not going to monetize this live stream simply because of who we're talking about as well, because you guys know how social media reacts to this man. Obviously, if I do anything regarding Andrew Tate on TikTok, TikTok immediately takes it down. So I can't do anything. I can't do any stories on him. I once did a video on commenting on him, and TikTok just took it straight down. Like it's just like removing our guidance or something when it was just a normal story, but because it's him, they took it down. Because remember, this guy was everywhere, and social media has suppressed him significantly. So let's read a bit more into this, you guys. So Andrew Tate, a self-proclaimed misogynist influencer, has been banned from leaving Romania while awaiting trial after a Romanian Court of Appeal on Tuesday overturned a previous ruling. So Andrew Tate was arrested in late 2022 and indicted in mid-2023, along with his brother Tristan and 2 Romanian citizens on charges of human trafficking, rape, and setting up a criminal gang to sexually exploit women, allegations that they have denied. Earlier this month, a court in Romanian capital Budapest ruled that the Tate brothers and the other 2 defendants could freely travel within the European Union until their trial. But a court appeal overturned the ruling, meaning that the 4 men must remain in Romania until their trial. So, yeah, he can't leave Romania. And I think until this has been settled, he's rightfully so as well. Who is Andrew Tate? Andrew Tate is a self-proclaimed misogynist influencer, number 3. A very dangerous individual who has poisoned the minds of a lot of men. He claims to speak for lots of young men, and unfortunately, there's a lot of young men out there who are incredibly influenced by him because of who he is and the way he comes across. There, Stephen Banker, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. From what I know, it's not video evidence; it's testimonial. Girls complained about him and what he was doing, and Romanian police started surveillance and investigations. Yeah, this is the thing. Like I say, I have to be a little bit careful here because this is only allegations, because there's no concrete evidence against Andrew Tate. So we have to be very clear about that. This is what the case is about. So I do have to exercise caution when speaking about this. Like I said, I've not seen video footage. So I think that's really important to highlight as well. The court has ruled that we respect this decision, urging investigators to Tate brothers, a lead counsel said on Tuesday. Tristan and Andrew Tate will fully comply with the court's decision, as well as the obligations to include the jurisdictional control, as they have done so far. After a court initially allowed him to travel with the EU, Tate had asked his followers on X, so do we take the Ferrari F9 to Italy, or do we take the Maserati MC20 to Kansas? Do we take the Ferrari 812 competition to Paris? Where do I go? The Brazilian was typical of Tate, who shot to internet fame in recent years, racking up billions of views on TikTok with disputes about male dominance, female submission, and wealth. Yeah, that's what he was he's very much a macho alpha kind of male guy. At least that's how he comes across on social media and whatnot. Obviously, he might not be like that behind closed doors, but yeah, he is a very strong influencer out there, and people should not forget that. And he is British, for those who don't know as well, because he was born and raised obviously in Luton, so he is obviously, and he hasn't returned to the UK for quite a long time. As far as I'm aware, he's not welcomed in the UK. I don't know if he'll be arrested. I don't know if there were I can't recall if there were charges on him for something in the UK. But he hasn't returned to the UK for quite a long time now. Not just 2022, but even before that, because there was some talk about him getting possibly assassinated or whatever as well, and that never really turned about. And yeah, there's a lot of myths about him. Well, there's him trying to escape Romania when legally ordered not to, and that being leaked to his friend's podcast, and friends intercepting him in the attempt. Yeah. So now is he in prison? No, he's not in prison. Like I said, he's free to roam. He's free to roam around in Romania. He will still be doing his podcast. He will still be talking and whatnot. But no, he's not in prison. I just said that already. So Tate is in his villa. Entity, everything about him is totally negative. Yeah. Worth reading about Aidan Ross and Tate brothers escape foiled. Yeah. I would just say, just be cautious about what you read and what you hear about Andrew Tate, because there are mixed things as well. Because I do think there may be some potential setups on him as well. While also I think that this man is obviously is considered a danger to society as well. So I would just exercise extreme caution when reading up or looking up on the man himself. I really do stress that, guys. So speaking of people that you should exercise caution against, this person just will not go away. Like, you would think that she lost her seat, that she just will not be quiet at all. I don't know what it's going to take to get rid of her, guys. But she just can't stop talking, can she?
Hello, it's me, Liv Struss, your ex-Prime Minister. Now, I know that a lot of people are thinking, hasn't she faded into insignificance now? No, I'm still here, so hopefully that makes your day a bit better. Secondly, I'm here because Noreen, a so-called comedian, is going to the Edinburgh Fringe in a couple of weeks and she doesn't have any money and she needs your money now. Now, that's because, number one, she's a comedian, apparently. Number two, I'm in it and I cost £60,000 per minute. And number three, obviously, if I'm not in it, there's no show. It's all about me. It's called The Exorcism of Liz Truss. Now, let's face it, you know, she's never going to get rid of me. It's a safe seat, just like East, South, West, Norfolk. Now, obviously, I've got a lot of money, but I'm not going to give her any because I work hard. I'm a grafter. And as far as I'm concerned, she hasn't hit retirement age yet of 80 years old. Now, I know she looks like it. She's weathered and quite haggard, but believe it or not, she's nowhere near 80 yet. I know. You know, as far as I'm concerned, if you are still breathing, you can work. If you can walk, you can work. If you can't talk, use your hands. If you can't use your hands, use your legs. I mean, it's really simple. Now, obviously, I wouldn't normally care about this kind of thing, but actually, little old Lizzie has been in the back seat for too long, and it's time for me to tell my story. Now, I know that I have released a book and I've done several interviews about it, but I think everybody needs to really know that I did nothing wrong. The only person responsible for the downfall of the Conservative government is Tony Blair and the Blair Witch Project, because that is a disgrace. So come and watch the show and give your money now. How much money does she need? £11,000. That's nothing. Gosh, oh my goodness. I've got this cloak from Chevening and this costs way more than that. You know, actually I stole it, to be honest. Do you know what? She needs to go on OnlyFans. I make that money in over half an hour just talking about growth. Speaking of which, she does owe me about £120,000 now because this is over 2 minutes. Anyway, I've got to go. Give your money now. Goodbye.
Nerding Skinner Comedy there, guys. Make sure you do check out Nerding Skinner Comedy's YouTube channel. Link for it is in the description. Obviously give Nerding Skinner obviously needing some needs support, and then whenever any of her shows are coming around, please do so, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed that little funny video. But yeah, she's just put that graph up saying she's not really asking you for money. She's really not. She's just saying if you can support, please do. Just like myself, guys. You know, one of the other things. This is my only source of income, guys, because this YouTube channel is my only source of income. So if you want to financially support me in any way, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Being a YouTube member gets you access to custom emojis like the gang behind me. So you also get some emojis of myself as well. 99p may not sound like a lot, but it really does make a massive difference, guys. Also, you get access to some community posts. There's a members only video that's at the moment available for 99p members for a few limited time before it becomes only exclusively available on Rumble. So your time is running out on that video. And also, if you're a $2.99 member, so if you want to support me a bit more, one of the things you get is early access to content, guys. So you'll get early access to content before everybody else does as a $2.99 member. So that's the perks you get from being a YouTube member, $2.99 member as well. And whenever any members comment on any of my videos, you'll always get a reply as well. So thank you to anyone and everyone who has supported me in any way. It's greatly appreciated. The gang behind me appreciate anyone who has financially supported me in any way. It really does mean the world to me. Other ways you can financially support me, if you don't want to do them those ways, you can buy me a coffee. Link is in the description. Or you can join me on Patreon. Joining me on Patreon, guys, gets you access to exclusive content, and you get free content on Patreon as well. And that's completely outside of Patreon. There's lots of content on Patreon. You're not just joining Patreon and getting absolutely nothing. No, you're getting actually something there. So I do contribute to the Patreon content quite a lot there. So feel free to check out the Patreon at patreon.com/REGANELITE as well. So thank you guys to everyone in any way. And also because my live streams are not monetized, so any super chats and all that kind of stuff is also welcome as well. But if you can't financially support me, hitting the like button, sharing, subscribing, commenting, watching the videos a bit longer, those are the ways you can support me if you can't, guys. So thank you to everyone as always. So the next one I've got for you guys is from the Associated Press. So more talks between China and the Philippines here. So maybe this is something, maybe it's not. We'll have to wait and see here. So a new deal has established a hotline Chinese and Philippines presidents can use to stop clashes at sea here. So obviously the last time we talked about this, they talked the Philippines talked about beefing up security, which is kind of a bit folly, I felt at the time, because it's like, what are you going to do? You're not going to bully China. You can't bully China because they got bigger. So so now there's this been set up. Now, I'm not sure how much of this is going to make a difference, because China will not accept whatsoever that their seas are not theirs, even though it's nowhere near their lands. They will still accept that their land is, that the sea, that South China Sea, they own a huge chunk of it, which they actually don't, but they're still going to make claims to that. So I'm not sure how much of this is going to make a difference, if I'm honest, but maybe it will. Maybe it will settle things between the Chinese and Philippines president whenever things kick off. I'm not 100% sure, but let's read a bit more into it. So a recently signed agreement will open a direct line of communications between the presidential office of China and the Philippines to help prevent any new confrontations from spiraling out of control in the disputed South China Sea, according to highlights of the accord seen by the Associated Press last Tuesday. China and the Philippines have created such emergency telephone hotlines at lower levels in the past to better manage disputes, particularly in two feisty disputed shoals where the Philippines has accused China's forces of increasingly hostile actions, and China says Philippine ships have encroached despite repeated warnings. The territorial disputes, however, have persisted since last year, sparking fears of a large armed conflict that could involve the United States, which has repeatedly warned that its obligations to defeat the Philippines, a key Asian treaty ally, if Filipino forces come under attack in the disputed waters. The U.S. General Charles Brown Jr., the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, met the Philippines military chief General Romeo Brawner on Melania on Tuesday to discuss ways to further boost the defensive ties, enhance the military's ability to operate jointly, and ensure regional ability, the Philippines military had said. Yeah, it's a lot more talk, a lot more defense and whatnot, but it's not really something that's going to change the situation at the moment. So during a confrontation between China and Philippines forces at the Philippines as occupied Second Thomas Shoal in August 2023, the Philippines government said it was unable to reach Chinese officials through an established maritime communication mechanism for several hours. That emergency telephone hotline was arranged after the Philippines President Fernandez Marcos Jr. met Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing in January 2023. Wait, that's not right. August 2023. That's got to be a typo error. That's got to be January 2024. Chinese and Philippines officials dealing with the territorial disputes held talks in Melania on July the 2nd following a violent confrontation in the Second Thomas Shoal, in which Chinese Coast Guard's personnel reportedly wielded knives and axe and improvised spears, and Philippines Navy personnel were injured. Yeah, that's not helping. The Chinese forces also seized 7 Philippines Navy rifles, said Bronner, who demanded China return the firearms and pay for the damages. Yeah, asking China to give them back and pay for them, I'm not sure you're going to get that. Both sides recognized the need to strengthen the bilateral maritime communication mechanism on the South China Sea and signed an arrangement on improving Philippines-China maritime communication mechanism. The Department of Foreign Affairs in Melania said in a statement that after talks in Melania did not provide a copy of details of the agreement. A copy of the agreement's highlights seen by the Association Press said it provides 7 channels for communications between the Philippines and China, specifically on maritime issues, though the representation is designated by their leaders. The hotline talks could also be done through the Department of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Foreign Affairs counterparts, including at the Foreign Minister and Vice Foreign Minister levels, or through their designated representatives, it said. It added, without elaborating, that Philippine officials were in discussion with the Chinese side on the guidance that will govern the implementation of this arrangement. So they plan to open up, obviously, a lot of communication from the sounds of it, according to the Association Press here. Which, obviously, is quite good because if obviously an incident occurs and the presidents can't get a hold of one another, or maybe the foreign secretaries can't get a hold of one another, they can get a hold of each other's departments a lot quicker, and then they can potentially resolve the disputes a lot faster, which I think is also quite good. There's also a plan to set up a new communications channel between the Chinese and Philippines Coast Guards. So once the correspondent methodology of understanding between them is conducted according to the agreement, that will also help as well. During the talks in Melania, China and the Philippines agreed on 2 other conference-boosting steps to intensify cooperation between their respective Coast Guard authorities, and the possible convening of maritime forum between Chinese and Philippine scientists and academic leaders. Both sides recognise the need to restore trust, rebuild confidence, and create conditions conducive to produce a dialogue and interaction. The Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs statement said it added that China and the Philippines affirmed their commitment to de-escalate tensions without prejudge to their respective positions. It is said that there is substantial progress on developing measures to manage the situation at sea, but acknowledged that significant differences remain. And yeah, this is going to be a long thing. This is not anywhere over by stretch of the imagination. But some of these things, according to the Association Press, is obviously good. It'll help. It may help. Obviously, opening up new lines of communications between the two nations will definitely help, especially when disputes start up again. That will obviously help with the situation. So hopefully maybe some tension will obviously ease as a result of this, guys. But at the same time, I'm not kind of holding my breath as well, because this has been going on since August. This has really been going on since August. I think it's even been going on before that. Don't recall calling before that as well. So, but it's still something problematic that's been taking place there. I mean, obviously, you would think that I'd be covering more about Taiwan and China, but no, there's actually more about China and the Philippines than anything else over in Asia at the moment. Well, obviously there is still between North and South Korea, as far as I'm aware, balloons being dropped over each other as well. That issue as well still taking place, as far as I'm aware. Last I checked on it as well. So next one I've got for you guys is coming from the Middle East. It is from NBC News, this one, guys. So not from Al Jazeera or Middle East Eye when it comes to what's happening in Gaza. But this is quite an interesting one here. So very few news outlets have reported on this particular story on this one. So the far-right groups are blocking Gaza aid, receive tax-deductible gifts from the US and Israel. So one group accused of looting or destroying supplies has raised £200,000, the Associated Press and the Israeli investigation site Shomron have found. What is this? So when I heard this, I was kind of a bit baffled, because the thing is, like, the tax-deductible gifts from Israel, that does not surprise me, but the US as well, that kind of threw me off a little bit. So it's essentially, guys, they're getting rewarded for stopping aid going into Gaza, is essentially what is being said here, which is really shocking. Now, I don't know how true this is. That's why very few, because I went to Ground News, who read different biases and not that. And this story has very few news outlets are covering this. So I'm a bit cautious on this as well, because I've not heard this from Al Jazeera or from Middle Eastern Eye. So yeah, it's this is quite shocking. So let's read a bit more into it. So under America pressure, Israel. It says by the Associated Press as well. I didn't actually find the Associated Press actual article on it, so I just want to point that out as well. So under American pressure, Israel has pledged to deliver large quantities of humanitarian aid into the war-ravaged Gaza Strip. But at the same time, the US and Israel have allowed tax-deductible donations to far-right groups that have blocked that aid from being delivered. 3 groups that have prevented humanitarian aid from reaching Gaza, including one accused of looting or destroying supplies, have raised more than $200,000 from donors in the US and Israel. The Associated Press and the Israeli investigation site Shomron have found in an examination of crowdfunding websites and other public records. Incentivizing these donations by making them tax deductibles runs counter to America's and Israel's stated commitments to allow unlimited food, water, and medicine into Gaza. Say groups working to get more aid into the territory, donations have continued even after the US imposed sanctions against one of these groups. But not cracking down on these groups, Israel has shown a lack of coherence in its Gaza aid policy, says Tanya Harley, executive director of Kishka, an Israeli non-profit that has long called on Israel to improve conditions in the territory. If you're on the one hand saying that you're allowing aid, but then also facilitating the actions of groups that are blocking it, can you really say you're facilitating aid, she says. I don't need to answer that question. You already know the answer to that. Israeli officials did not respond to a request for comment. The US State Department said it is committed to ensuring the delivery of aid, but had no comment on the fundraising efforts by the far-right groups. Didn't want to say anything about it. Israel has said repeatedly that it does not restrict humanitarian aid, and that the United Nations have failed to distribute thousands of truckloads of goods that have reached the territory. The UN and aid groups said deliveries have repeatedly been hampered by military operations, lawlessness inside Gaza, and delays in Israeli inspections. The three groups examined by AP and Shalom have slowed the delivery of aid by blocking trucks on their way to Gaza, either by snarling traffic or simply standing in front of the main Kerem Shalom crossing into Gaza. You cannot blame the UN for the aid not getting to where it needs to go to, because this is a war zone inside Gaza. And they cannot simply just drive freely about to where they need to get it to without guarantees that they're not going to get shot or get blown up. It's not that blimmin' hard to understand that. But the problem is, you guys won't give the clear and fair communication that is needed for the UN and other aid agencies to get aid to where it needs to go to, because you will not guarantee that assurances. And it is a lawlessness inside Gaza because you've literally leveled the entire strip. This is a picture here. Demonstrations, protests against the entry of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip and near the Colonstone crossing on Israel. This was on the 18th of January 2024. And we've seen footage, as we've seen on the Snowflake Watch, of them stopping aid trucks getting in. While these organisations are not primary impediments to aid shipments, they have received tactical support from some Israeli leaders. Israel's ultra-nationalist Minister for National Security, Isla Ben-Gvir, said that aid shipments to Gaza should be blocked, and he supported the rights of opponents to demonstrate, though he said it should not be done violently. Well, I don't think they're doing it violently, but it's still, you're still basically, oh, no worries, Stephen Banker, thanks for popping by, but you're still like, you're still advocating for the death of innocent Palestinians in the Gaza Strip by stopping it. So, demons walk with demons, says Jao. You can see the Sirenists and the Trumpians are all together. This is no surprise at all. Isn't politics wonderful, says number 3. No, it is not. But yeah, I know where you're coming from, number 3. One of the groups, Mother's March, has raised the equivalent of over $125,000 via GiftChack, an Israeli crowdfunding site the AP and Shalom have found. The group had also raised some $13,000 via JGift, a US and Israeli crowdfunding site. Donations to charitable organizations are tax deductibles in Israel and the US. Mother's March does not raise the money directly. Instead, it works with an aligned group called Todum Lachima that raises funds on its behalf. Tochima Lachima, whose name translates loosely as Combat Doctrine, is active in Israel nationalist circles and working together to strengthen the Jewish identity and fighting spirit among Israeli soldiers, according to its website. Tolak Lichma continues to solidify funds for Mother March on the JGift site in the US. Until it was sanctioned last month, a third group, Task 9, raised over $85,000 from close to 1,500 donors in the US and Israel via J-Gift. J-Gift said that the donations made to Task 9 were frozen even before the sanctions were imposed and not delivered to the group. All three groups, which have ties to Israeli ultra-nationalist far rights, said Israel should not be aiding the Palestinians for as long as Hamas is holding dozens of people hostage. Sorry, I needed that water. They also claim that Hamas is stealing too much of the aid, though aid groups have disputed that. These people are so evil. They're so evil. No to humanitarian aid for grants that grants fuel to the enemies who killed us. No to the hundreds of trucks that pass through every day through Kilim Shalom and drag out the war. Mother March said in the recent crowdfunding campaign. It said the funds were needed for demonstrations, shuttles, printing material, and publicity campaigns. Hundreds of activists set up tents at Kilim Shalom for several nights in early February to stop the delivery of aid. The head of Mother March, Simla Hassan, was briefly detained by Israeli police in January after temporarily blocking trucks. Israel's newspaper reports have shown large convoys of cars blocking aid trucks from travelling on Israeli highways, as well as activists looting trucks and destroying supplies. In the sanctions order, the White House accused Task 9 of violently blocking roads, damaging aid trucks, and dumping supplies on the road. It says that on May that Task 9 members looted and set fire of two of the trucks in the West Bank carrying aid destined for Gaza. Last week, the White House imposed sanctions on the group's co-founders. You know that if Trump gets in, he's going to undo all this. You know he is. Israeli police, who fought under the authority of Ben Gvir, have made a few arrests, although the group appears to have stopped its activities in recent weeks. Task 9 defended its actions as within the framework of the law. In a democratic protest, it calls the sanctions from the US anti-democratic intervention. It's anti-democratic to deny aid and food and medicine to the most vulnerable in society as well. Just saying. Neither Mother March nor Tolam Lichma responded to a request for comment. I wonder why. Israel launched its offensive in Gaza in response to October 7 attack by Hamas, which killed roughly 1,200 people and took 250 hostages. The offensive had killed over 38,000 Palestinians, according to local health authorities, and unleashed a humanitarian crisis in the densely populated territory. Over 80% of the population is displaced, and international officials say hundreds of thousands of people are on the brink of famine. Two international courts have accused Israel of war crimes and genocide, charges Israel denies as it pledges to keep the aid flowing into Gaza. For those who violate the sanctions against Task 9 could have their assets frozen or face travel and visa bans. It's unclear how effective these sanctions will be. Extremist Israeli settlers in the West Bank say similar US sanctions imposed on them will have little effect, in part because Israeli leaders have helped convert them. Yeah, it's the US can't do unless the US start making things more difficult for Israel. Nothing's gonna change. The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office declined comment. The Justice Ministry, which regulates non-profits, said it would investigate but had no further comment. J-Gift said it complies with Israeli laws. In addition to freezing Task 9's donations, it noted that Mother's March campaign ended over 4 months ago. The US State Department said it urged Israel to ensure aid safety reaches Gaza and punish those who tried to block it. The targeting of aid trucks by violent extremist settlers is unacceptable, and we've made it clear to the government of Israel, it said. It declined to comment on the group's fundraising efforts. Harry of the Israeli activist group Gisha noted that the efforts of Mother March and Task 9 appear to have quietened down in recent weeks, but as they continue to seek donors, she said they could resume activities at any moment. They're getting signals from various places in the government that Gaza should be completely cut off, she said. And as number 3 says in the comments, truly evil beings in human forms, perhaps, you never know. It definitely feels that way with this. I understand the desperation to get the hostages away from Hamas. I understand that, but lines are being crossed here. Let's be absolutely clear. We know lines are being crossed here, and it's absolutely disgusting the way this has been handled. This has not been handled in any way, shape, or form properly in any way, and it's Very frustrating to say the least, guys. Getting these tax deductibles, it's just really just shows, you know, no matter how blatant what is happening, the US are chained to Israel in every way, shape, or form, and that's not going to change, I'm afraid. So guys, I got one more story for you guys, and then we got the funny memes. I'm not going to cover Ukraine this time around. I'll give you guys an update on Ukraine in on Friday with the World's News Round as well. So this last one I've got for you guys. So there hasn't been an update on this. I'm going to assume that he has retained his presidency here, but this is coming from Rwanda. Yeah, Rwanda, guys. So Kagame is poised for a fourth term with 99.15% of the vote. Yay! So surely there's been no election rigging whatsoever. Perfectly legitimate elections took place in Rwanda, guys. Yay. President Paul Kagame has won 99% of the vote in provisional results from Monday's presidential election in Rwanda, electoral authorities said. An outcome that was widely expected as the country's longtime ruler aims to extend his three-decade grip in power. Kagame's opponents, Frank Habizia of the Democratic Green Party of Rwanda and independent candidate Philippe Malamia, were collectively getting under 1% of the votes in provisional results, accounting for 79% of all ballots cast. The results mirrored the outcome in 2016 when Kagame took nearly 99% of the all votes. This seems like a perfectly legitimate democratic election here. Guy getting 99% of the votes, and 99% of the votes here. Very diplomatic, democratic elections for sure. And we wanted to send migrants here. The final results are expected by July the 29th, although they could be announced sooner. Yeah, they haven't announced it sooner, but I expect him to be carrying on. This is 66-year-old Kagame, who has held power since the end of the country's genocide in 1994, was running virtually unopposed. Two of his stronger critics were blocked from running for high office. I mean, come on. There were two long lines at some polling stations in the capital, Kigali. Election authorities said 9.5 million Rwandans were registered to vote in the country's population of 14 million. This is going to be my first time to vote. I'm voting for President Kagame because I have never seen a leader like him before, said passenger motorcyclist Jean-Claude Numeriska. You don't want to try someone different? Don't want to try something different. Just saying. Kagame has led the East African country since he seized power. As the head of rebels who took control of the government has ended the genocide in 1994. He was vice president and the de facto leader from 1994 to 2000 when he became president. He has been condemned by many as a violent authoritarian, but praised by others for presiding over impressive growth in the 3 decades since the genocide. Kagame is among African leaders who have prolonged their rule by pursuing changes into term limits. In 2015, Rwandans in a referendum voted to lift the 2-term limit. Now Kagame can stay in power until 2034. You know, you think the 2-term limit would probably be something that's probably needed. I think even in the UK we should have a 2-term limit as well for prime ministers. I just think it's much more democratic to have a different leader, even if you're having the same political party. Yeah. On Saturday, he told journalists that his mandate comes from the people. Really, 99% of the people. The ruling party and Rwandans have been asking me to stand for another mandate, he said. At a personal level, I can comfortably go home and rest. Rwanda's elections took place amid heightened fears of insecurity in Africa's Great Lakes region. Rebels known as the M23 are fighting Congolese forces in remote areas of neighbouring eastern Congo. Yeah, there's always that fear there, but the relationships obviously between the two sides is not very good there. Between 3,000 and 4,000 Rwandan forces are fighting alongside M23. United Nations experts said in a report circulated last week that the US government has described the group as being backed by Rwanda. Rwanda accuses Congo's military of recruiting fighters who were among the perpetrators of the genocide. rights groups continue to raise alarm over harsh restrictions on human rights, including freedom of association in Rwanda. Amnesty International, in a recent statement, expressed concerns over threats, arbitrary detention, prosecution on trumped-up charges, killings, and enforced disappearance targeting the political opposition. It said the suppression of dissolute voices, including among civil groups and the media, has a chilling effect and limits the space for debate for the people of Rwanda. This is where we wanted to send immigrants to, guys. This is where the UK wanted to send immigrants to that kind of country. I first and foremost, my heart goes out to the people of Rwanda who are kind of like, if they don't choose him, something could happen to them, allegedly. Oh God, I have to say that. But yeah, it's a country with a lot of problems. Let me put it that way. And while yes, you know, you would think that having the same political leader in power for quite a long time is obviously a good. Having the same political leader in power for a long time is considered a good thing. Change is also a necessary thing, and clearly that's not what's happened here. How, if things ever going to change right now, I don't know. I just think right now the people in Rwanda just have to put up with their leader, until he gets sick or something worse happens to him, because I just don't see him removing his spot. But yeah, some people have said he's been good for Rwanda, others obviously not so. When Amnesty International are saying things, and when people are designating Rwanda as not a safe country, you should be raising alarm bells there. And considering that there's a conflict literally on their next door neighbours about them, Rwanda's allegedly being a part of that as well. Not a very good place to live. So I guess the next question will be, when is Suella Braverman having her vacation there? That's the real question that we all need to know. Yeah, Moskisk. Hi, Billy. Good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. So, guys, just before we head out, I'm going to do the funny memes for you guys. Democracy by force, or as we call it, not a democracy, says Jal. Tax deductibles, deaf coupons, he says. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely democracy by force, that's for sure there, Jal. Yeah. So I've got 5 memes for you here. I hope you guys enjoy these before we head out. So let's have a little bit of fun before we head out, guys. I hope you guys enjoy these. When you turn the lights off and you try to find your bed. Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Sometimes when I'm looking for the bed, sometimes I end up putting my head on my partner's head, and while she's sleeping, I end up waking her up by accident. She doesn't like it. He's got no backup. Floor it. This is how I look when someone owes me money. No, I haven't seen your pills. But have you seen the dragons in the kitchen? But that's not fair, officer. I can't even say the alphabet sober. I'm telling you, it's just the officers just being unfair here. And I can't even say the alphabet sober. He wants to just say it when I'm drunk. Oh, God. Huh. Hope you guys enjoy those funny memes. Bit different to some of the 1 or 2 to the usual ones, but I hope you guys found them funny. Oh no, the memes. Don't worry, it's over now. Number 3, it's over now. Yeah, so bit of fun there, guys. Bit of fun. So, guys, just a reminder, tomorrow I will be back with the Snowflakes Watch. We may have some bits on the King's speech in that as well, and there'll be some other stuff to cover as well. So do join me tomorrow for the Snowflake Watch. Also a reminder that after that we'll be doing a live after chat as well, so feel free to come and join me for there as well. Thursday, I will be having a guest, on at Thursday evening. Again, I'm still waiting for confirmation of the time slot. But there will be a live stream Thursday night, guys. There will be one. Just keep your eyes out. It will be one. And then on Friday, it will be World's News Round as well, guys. So thank you guys all for coming along. Really appreciate it. Thank you all for your comments. Thanks for popping in. I really do appreciate it. Let me know what you guys thought of some of the stories that we covered today in the comment section down below. Really, really, your feedback is important. So thank you guys. And hopefully, I'm assuming Max is going to be going live at 8:30. So hopefully I will catch you guys there. But if not, I'll catch you guys tomorrow with the Snowflake Watch. But until then, guys, before you head out, the gang here, I want to say thank you guys for coming along. The Lava Lamp has formed, Pingu, Ollie, and Cash Dummy on behalf of the gang, whole gang here, guys. They just would like to say thank you very much for coming along. Much appreciate it. And I leave you with the usual outro. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, the work that the gang behind me does as well, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.